board.
All right, well, we should call the meeting back to order, huh?
Good luck.
All right, well, let's pick up where we left off. So kind of three major things we want to accomplish this afternoon is one, develop a commitment worksheet or a plan worksheet for the coming years, 2018, 2019 perhaps, maybe go out that far. Then we want to talk a little bit about how we're going to communicate things externally. We'll look at the goals and objectives we have on the website, see if we want to make any adjustments there, and talk about any talking points or communication efforts we want to make associated with some of the goals and objectives. And then, like I said earlier, we too want to talk about just our mechanisms for recognizing and rewarding progress with our strategic plan. So next thing we want to do, I think, Sean, is look at the draft worksheet for the coming year.
You bet. Pass the board around. And these can go that way. Thank you. You got one?
Yeah. So I think what we'll do is first kind of review some of the things that we carried forward from the last year's plan, and then talk a little bit about some of the things we want to add based on our discussion this morning, and any other thoughts or ideas board members have. So we had one of the goals in our major plan, our strategic plan, was to develop a long-term plan to improve workplace efficiency. So I'm looking on page 1 of the strategic planning worksheet. So we've got a number of objectives or strategies related to that goal. The first being, and so what I tried to do is like when we were going through and Sean was reporting out before, like with some of the communication stuff, we all saw it was all kind of related, like the video clips and the school board website and legislative webpage and everything. So we tried to cluster some of the objectives that are carrying forward into this coming period into the general themes. So I've got kind of 4 major strategies related to the objective of developing a long-term plan to improve workplace efficiency, being the newer remodeled workspace, the workflow project, expanding our online form capacity, and improving our public records management and document imaging plan. So what I hope to do, or what I want to get out of the board at this juncture, is to make sure that the objectives are articulated in a way you feel is appropriate, make sure you approve the objective, are in agreement with it. We can talk a little bit about the priority, and I propose some priorities, but that's up for discussion. And to a certain degree, I think have a brief discussion about the timeline, responsible parties, resources required. What I hope to do is kind of get this sketched out today, then Sean can take it back and kind of work it over with staff, and then we'll actually, pin down some dates or look at the resources or look at the timelines. If we have 2 major projects with the same deadline and that's not going to work for staff, we want to give Sean and staff the ability to kind of take the work we do today, take another pass through it just to kind of really program it out to make sure it makes sense, then bring that back to the board, and then that'll be the mechanism by which we report on and monitor this plan over the coming year or 2 years. And I put 2017, 2018 on there. I mean, it may be more of a 2017, 2019 type of a worksheet or plan. So let's just take kind of these first 5 objectives and go through and discuss each one. Make sure we have a common understanding, make sure the board's okay with how it's articulated, and if we have any thoughts on the outcomes or priority timeline and stuff, this would be the time to talk about that now. So the first one would be the newer remodeled workspace for TRS operations. I mean, obviously the outcome would be transition to a better facility. I don't know if there's anything else we're looking for there. Seems like it's a high priority timeline.
Well, before we just start discussion on the specific, I don't mean to nitpick, but can I just make a comment about what I'm observing on these two documents?
Yes.
Okay. This green document, Effective Strategic Planning, has this really cool 4-quadrant system. And then over here you've got a 1, 2, 3 system, the 2 incorporating 2 of the quadrants.
Right.
Well, my comment about that, I was thinking about this at lunch. Quadrant 3, not important, urgent. Anything that would actually fall into that category, I cannot comprehend. It means a basic problem with somebody in this. I can't imagine what could possibly ever go into a quadrant that's labeled not important and urgent, because they're contradictory concepts.
Right.
If it's urgent, it's implied to be important. So what I'm suggesting is it theoretically possible that maybe we cut this down to 3 quadrants so that they now have a correlation?
Yeah, I think that's fine. And really the things that are not important or urgent would be from an executive level or a board level, things that probably aren't important for you guys to be worrying about or working on. So it may be like from an executive example, if an executive is like interruptions or things that are urgent, not important, you know, things that maybe if an executive is getting drawn into, and Denise alluded to this earlier, things that maybe a CEO shouldn't be doing or a board shouldn't be attending to, could be things that might fall into that category of not important or urgent. So
the question is, would any of those things ever fall into a long-term strategic planning session?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. So you're exactly right. I mean, I think we can look at things and to try to draw a correlation there. I think that's important. And frankly, a lot of times, I mean, I have worked with boards that do spend time working on things that are not important but urgent. And they could be things like, you know, rumors or things going on in the press and things that, how do we address them early on? So let's say we do the move to the space and we don't have any coordinated outreach effort, or don't do any communication, and all of a sudden, boom, the board's getting peppered with complaints or people, you know, wondering what's going on. You know, so you're spending a lot of time as a board member just defending why we moved to this new space. I mean, on an individual basis with an individual member or something, that's important, of course, but in the big scope of your job, you know, you fielding a bunch of phone calls from members about why we moved to this new space isn't important or isn't good use of your time.
Well, the reason it seemed important to me to have a correlation between these two documents is, if you look on the back of this sample page where it says number 2, high importance, low urgency, or low importance, high urgency, those seem to be very, very different categories. And
right.
In terms of creating a time frame for which priority should be worked on first, it seems like it might be relevant to separate those out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you might have something, one of the things that I know of happens to me all the time, you might have something that's in that first quadrant for 2-3 years.
Right.
But as you get closer to whenever, that priority shifts.
Yes.
All of a sudden it becomes important or it becomes urgent, one or the other. So it gives you the opportunity to move it. It might not be that big a deal right now.
Right. But you're exactly right. I mean, to address your question, I mean, there's not a great correlation. I could have improved that. And sometimes the priority, the other thing we could look at the priority just to make it even simpler is, you know, year 1, year 2, year 3 was another way to look at it as well. So I think, but what I tried to get at is if something, like you said, if something's really falling into that category, if it's not that important, it's not that urgent, should it even be in the strategic plan? Probably not. You know, it's something we should consider limiting. But we may have some 3 priorities. It may be something we want to do, but it's not necessarily urgent or important for, say, this first 2-year period, but it's something we want to keep on our radar.
But if we've got lots of things done and we had time to work
Right.
on it, or
Yeah.
hired someone else, then you throw that.
Yeah. So thank you for that. That's great, and I think we can look at that. And like I said, you know, we can decide as a group if we want to use 3s or if we just want to focus on 1s and 2s. And really, timeline is just as important. I mean, if we want to put something out to 2019, we can do that. And if we start getting towards 2019, it's like, okay, that's starting to become a 1.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about the first 4 strategies related to the objective of improving our workplace efficiency. are we all pretty clear and on board with the newer remodeled workspace? Is that articulated well? I just put 2017 as a starting point. It sounds like that project's gonna bleed into 2018, and we're not gonna be in.
It may, I guess, we haven't really articulated exactly what's all gonna transpire, because it hasn't been figured out yet necessarily. We have had the conversation that we're looking at potentially leasing this building out to Department of Administration, and then leasing space over in the Park Avenue building. But we don't have any draft lease agreements yet. That's something that's being worked on currently by Department of Admin's Chief Legal Counsel, so we'll get to see those in the coming weeks. And all the particulars haven't been worked out. I mean, the thing I'm going into it trying to negotiate, is that we essentially sort of stay held harmless to some degree. You know, what we have for square footage, I wanna get full credit for square footage over there. Obviously, we're gonna have to pay for the additional square footage, that makes sense, but I wanna try to make it as much of a wash for TRS as possible, other than the additional square footage. But the timing on all of this, how quickly it may or may not unfold, I can't say for certain. I know their lease over there expires October 1. Whether we would be in a position to do something that soon, I don't know yet, until I have more details about, you know, exactly what the costs will be. Logistically, you know, the General Services Division, they routinely move state agencies around, so that there's a process for that. There's a certain cost per employee. They come in, they pack up our stuff, they go over and they set it up. So the actual moving, the minor modifications we would want in that building before we move in, all of those things are all pretty minor. They won't take very much time. It's more just the actual nuts and bolts of the deal of what we lease this out for and what we end up paying over there.
Okay.
Now, that's one thing I did mention to Dan Trost before he left. This has all been just conceptual up to this point. No one on the boards even went over and looked at the space. And that's why I asked him if he would be willing to, you know, if it looks like things are gonna move along, if he'd be willing to, between board meetings, go over and look, and then also provide input on the lease agreement, or whatever we come up with. And he said yes, and Dan Chamberlain, anything we can mail electronically, because you and Dan are the two on the budget, not a committee. I think that's the committee makes most sense.
So they haven't given you any information yet on square foot pricing, or how they would escalate?
No, I know their square foot price, it's just a matter of what are we, you know.
How much?
Yeah, I mean.
How much space?
Right.
Yeah. How about cost of living increases? Have they given you any information on that? How do they develop that? Is it a fixed rate, or is it based on CPI, or?
It's built into the contract. So like I said, their lease agreement will be terminating or expiring October 1st. And so the lease is actually through the Board of Investment. So in some respects, we would be leasing the building from the owner, of which we kind of are. It's part of the Board of Investment's pension real estate pool.
Oh, seems like you should get a pretty good inside deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you didn't necessarily get a deal.
We might have to drop our
It's a good, right.
interest rate.
Yeah.
Dear. Back into where you're taking it.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, you know, that's a good piece of this as well, is your leasing.
What were you
for
thinking
yourself.
in terms of a time frame, Sean? Were you for a lease?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's gonna have to be a fairly long-term
At
lease.
least 10 years with
Yeah,
another
I
10-year
was
option.
thinking 10, yeah. Because, and if we did end up leasing this building out, it's gonna have to be at least a 10-year lease, because they're gonna be looking at putting some money into the building to do some of the renovations we had talked
Right.
about, and they're not gonna wanna do that unless they have it at least 10 years.
Is it possible to sign a lease agreement over there contingent upon getting this one leased out, or do you know the answer to that question?
It may be. I guess the space there isn't gonna be available unless they move out, and the only way they're gonna move out is if they're moving here.
So it's kind of, you guys are switching places, right?
Yeah.
Why would they want to move here?
Because the rest of the Department of Admin is here on
Oh,
campus.
it's closer.
Yeah.
I
This
see.
is a division of Department of Admin.
And that's a big advantage to them.
It is, yep.
Huh.
Yeah, so we kinda have, I mean, we kinda have the bigger bargaining chip, I think.
Okay.
in this whole thing, the building and the parking right
It
here
seems
on
like a
campus.
pretty good opportunity.
Okay, so that'll be developed a little bit more. I'll clarify at staff and budget audit committee time, add the moving costs to the resources required, and we'll just put the timeline, kind of 2017, 2018 to be
Yeah,
developed or updated.
it could bleed into 2018, I mean,
Okay.
that's definitely a possibility, or, it could move actually fairly quick. If it were gonna be October 1, we gotta kinda get moving. And they are working on it, so I've had several meetings with people that get to make those kind of decisions on their side, so I think they're moving along.
So what do you do if you've got a scenario where they need to remodel this before them? And they're.
Well, I've already, like I said, we kind of have the big bargaining chip, so I've already ironed that out. They would move out, we would have the little tiny bit of remodeling we want done to that building, they would move in, and while they're gonna have to go somewhere temporary until this is done.
Okay, so we got that one.
Sorry, but we have member appointments scheduled out for, quite a ways in the future and things, we couldn't really
You
be in
can't
a
really
position
not.
where we go somewhere temporary and, yeah.
That's what I was worried about.
Yeah.
So, and then one thing I mentioned earlier, in association with that move, and I don't know if it's a separate objective or something we add to that, but certainly seems like there'd be a need for a communication effort, outreach effort related to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And I think we can we'll circle back on that outreach effort, because some of these other things that we're doing, that might just be a nice real communication package. Here's the things TRS is doing to improve, package it all, not just the move, but some of these other things we're gonna do, and kind of package it all in one outreach effort. The next piece of the workplace efficiency plan is the workflow project. We're kind of talking about a major document digitization project. I think Perceptive was the name of the project you're looking at, software, kind of enterprise contact business management system. So I don't know if we have any more we want to say about that, timeframes, board questions, input.
I guess a couple things I'd like to just add to that is, so what we would be looking at is next October, this phase of the M-Trust project, it will be completed. And we really wouldn't have time for staff to take on this Perceptive piece of it where we truly implement a real workflow solution where you get documents in and they move around the office electronically based on this software, moving it through the office for you. That's ultimately where we want to get to, but we wouldn't have the resources to really take that piece of it on until next October. So this would probably be a 2018, 2019 item. But the one kind of key piece that I'd like to at least plant the seed in the board's, here right now is that's going to be a fairly significant IT project like with a project management and sort of testing component that maybe we want to look at if we decide to move forward with this, which I think we should. I recommend we do this because it'll make our work way more efficient. But we might want to sort of decide that like next May, so I can let those other I'd like to keep the same sort of team as far as contractors with Jane and Monica.
Well, I think that makes sense, but I also think what makes sense is part of our discussion with the records management side of things. If you know you're gonna move in that direction, that kind of drives some of that discussion, so you might wanna have that formally decided before then.
Yes, and I don't want to jump all over the place, but records management, the piece of that whole conversation, I mean, that's Denise's book. There's a lot to that, and there's a lot of work to be done in that area to get us in compliance. And so it may be that it makes sense for us to contract with someone in that area to sort of give us a jump start. Because I think once we have everything in place on the records management, Darlene will have time and she has the ability to do all of it now anyway, but she doesn't have the time. So if we threw some resources like an outside contractor at it to get it up to snuff, then I think we could maintain it.
Yeah, but that's all, that's kind of part of the same discussion.
It is.
If you did hire an outside contractor, would that move your time frame up?
On the records management?
Yes.
Potentially, I mean, the policy piece of it, we still have to have pretty significant input. I'm not sure a contractor would be able to come in and give us the policies, but maybe there's someone in the state that has worked with other state agencies. I mean, Jim, do you know anybody in that, kind of in that space? Do you guys do anything with that?
We personally don't know, but I mean, I certainly, other consultants have, and Deloitte
Yeah.
does that kind of stuff, and, Secretary of State, I'm sure, could probably get you guys lined up with somebody as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely could move the timeline up on when we would be compliant. As far as the
So
perceptive piece, though, I think we would, that piece you're gonna have to have someone, basically boots on the ground that exists today, like somebody, it's gonna take a business analyst to walk through the actual workflow of, like, say, a retirement application. What are all the stops numbered in sequence, and what steps have to be done by who and when?
So clarify for me, then, when you say you think we should decide on this in May of 2018, do you mean whether or not we should go forward with this
Yes.
specifically?
Yeah, with the full-on workflow. We're gonna be moving to Perceptive no matter what. That's part of the IT convergence.
Okay.
But the initial step there will be just to basically, we'll be using Perceptive exactly how we use FileNet today. We'll still have, the forms will come in, the paper files will go all around the office until the work on that file's done. Then it goes to imaging, and then it's imaged and it's stored, or maybe we decide to destroy them at some point in the future. Where if we do full-on workflow, a document comes into the office, it gets imaged first thing, and then all the right attributes are assigned to that piece of paper, and electronically then it moves to the system. So let's say Tammy's supposed to be the first one to look at this form. It would electronically, essentially, she would get the cue, hey, you have this out there, go look at it. She's done, it goes, to the next person, to the next.
This process also seems largely dependent upon whether or not you move. Because, I mean, just the physical workspace is gonna change the way it's implemented if you were here versus there, right?
No?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. If let's say we weren't gonna move at all, and we wanted to implement workflow, so we were gonna scan everything right away, instead of the mail being opened and put in folders upstairs here, it would be opened, scanned, and everything downstairs, and moved. It wouldn't really, I don't think it would have that big of an impact.
Okay.
Okay. So since we're on the records management and implementing document imaging, resources required, possibly contractor fees, legal policy review, do we have an idea on the time frame for that? Because we're talking about maybe getting a jump start on that ahead of the Perceptive. So you think that would be like a 2018 type of thing, or are you talking even starting on it this year?
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, I mean, we haven't really gone down that road very far. I don't know if there are contractors that are familiar with these new requirements and that, I mean, I'm not sure who would be available, or I really don't. The three of us had talked about this the other day, and we thought, maybe a way we could sort of get a jump start on trying to get in compliance with that, knowing that the rest of the staff is already kind of tied up, is to contract with someone.
Okay.
Okay. And certainly agencies, like you could talk to like Department of Revenue and stuff, because obviously they're, I mean, you guys are gonna be a little ahead of the curve on really getting on top of records management, but I assume some of the agencies like, revenue, that have to be on the cutting edge of that, just with, IRS regs and data security and stuff might be a place to start. See if they're working.
And the reality is it's very dependent on, I mean, I'm sure that there are consultants that will say they can come in and do your process mapping, your information inventory, your data inventorying and that sort of thing. But, just from personal experience, we know they say they can do that, but you may go through a couple of contractors before you hit upon a person who actually can do it. without all kinds of internal staff time having to be devoted to it as well, so.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't.
Well, and I mean, the unique aspects of Montana records law, you know, just coming in with the general process and trying to map that out, it's not gonna give you that familiarity.
Right. So, I mean, I don't think that's a 17 for sure, I mean, it's already August, but maybe 18
Okay,
for now, and then we can sort of reevaluate that.
okay. And Sean, maybe we'll let you kind of come back and identify the responsible party coordinator on those.
Okay.
Cause it sounds like there's probably gonna be internal, not really gonna be a lot of board involvement in either of those, other than the approvals and.
Of the resources, yeah, right.
Okay. Let's circle back a little bit and talk about the online form capacity and kind of where that fits in the scheme of these other two projects. You wanna talk a little bit about that one?
So similar to the workflow solution, being fully integrated into mTrust and using the workflow, I think there's opportunity for us, and we have what, 5 forms scheduled
Part of this
for
phase.
this phase of mTrust, to where there would be electronic forms, but in the future, there's gonna be more opportunity to move that direction, where maybe the whole retirement application is as an example, is available as an online form. You fill it out and you actually do an e-signature instead of even printing out. There's nothing to print out and sign. I mean, I'm just refinancing my house. You can do
If
all that
realtors
stuff.
can do it, we can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're all related to one another, because to the extent you have less paper coming in sort of the traditional way, you know, it changes how many resources you need actually scanning documents versus we're getting information now electronically to begin with, and then how does that move around? But again, it's kind of, these are all tied together. The space is the one that's definitely a way to improve workplace efficiency and morale and all that, but it's a little bit different than these other 4. In that these other 4, I think, are all tied to not necessarily another phase of mTrust, because mTrust will be affected by all of them, and we want to integrate mTrust, but it's going to be our next sort of big project.
You said that there's no correlation between that number 2 and the move, but I want to disagree just a little bit, just from the outside, in that any flow that you create here in this physical building is going to have to be redone again if and when you move. So it just seems to me that the workspace issue is becoming a really strong priority. And if we can get that situation handled, then all these other things could be implemented in your new space. You've got a psychological fresh start, you've got a physical fresh start, and you don't have to redo anything because of workflow duplication issues.
Yeah, I think you know, Jim has the space as a number 1. I think that is a number 1. We get that. I think you're right. We want to knock that off first, and then everything else.
But isn't this workflow just digital?
It's like.
It
So it's
is.
not gonna change who gets it, their physical location of building might be different, but
Yeah.
that doesn't matter to a computer.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from a process and staff training and everything, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, okay, here's our new
Yep.
space, here's our new work process, and kind of
Yeah.
rip the Band-Aid off and throw it all at everybody at once.
Get them in a new environment, you can require 20 or 30% more productivity. Tammy's already at 100%.
Right. 110.
Yeah.
110. I mean, we're talking about a lot of change. I mean, even the workplace, you know, changing workplace. There's an HR component to that. You know, like who gets what office and why, and you know, I mean, there's a lot of change that we've already introduced over the last 3 or 4 years just with mTrust, and then you know, these are all kind of individually are all big changes. Certainly, you add them together,
You gotta
they're
think
really big
morale and
changes.
things like that.
I mean, I think they're all changes for the better, and I think they'll make people's life easy, you know, their work life a little bit easier, more efficient. I think they're all good things. It's just we need to
Change is hard.
keep in mind that it is it's a lot of change.
It's hard.
And
Well-
I mean, staff has been, I think, really good about the changes they've been facing pleased with so far, and I think
Yeah.
they'll continue. But
Yeah, and I have to say that's probably has a lot to do with the fact that it was a modular-based implementation for our rollout. I can't imagine if it was one day you're in pension plus and the next day you're in a new program.
Huh?
At least they got a little little taste of it each and every time we rolled out one of those 22 modules instead of just all of them that turn off one day and turn on something new. So I mean, really, it's been a really good project all around, so.
And one thing to think about, and it's kind of in line with the outreach, or maybe even be part of the outreach effort, but a lot of times when employers are going through things like this, you know, maybe a little late in the game, but talking about a actual plan for change management and helping people work through that and doing some change, you know, training and support resources on how to manage change and giving people venues to talk about it and stuff. I mean, you know, actually having a concerted change management effort really served a lot of employers well,
Yeah.
going through
And
drastic organizational change.
And I definitely could see that, because I mean, like I said, even just, I mean, we tried to, Monica and Darla and myself, we tried to focus on, you know, helping train individuals and then, you know, evaluate doing that again prior to going live, but yet even after you go live, there's just not enough of us to go around and help each person individually if they don't understand something. Darla's help has been, you know, but they have to use it first of all, but it's, you know, it's a great resource, a great tool, but I could see absolutely that would be important, especially the more things that we're changing and as we're going forward.
Well, I think as you went through the whole process, you know, if you want to look at how change was planned, it was done really well.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of things going on there, a lot of bits and pieces that were changing, a lot of stuff that was happening that was affecting workflow.
Yeah.
We just need to make sure that regardless how we do things with this other stuff, that we plan that change very comparably,
Yeah.
so that it makes sense. They understand why we're doing the work in the building. They understand why we're doing this. They've had an opportunity to buy in on some of what's happening. Now, you're never gonna get everybody, and you're never gonna get all that stuff lined out, but if you plan it so that they have the opportunity to,
And I think that's important, what Sean said, that we were able to keep the same team that we're working with, like if we go to workflow, because, I mean, Jane has been remarkable to work with, her and Monica both, and to be able to continue that, you know, they're familiar with those individuals, and they respect those individuals.
And they already have a pretty good idea of how the work, how we operate, what we need, I guess, from a workflow perspective to some degree.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
and
it would be good.
yeah, and they, of course, they have the intimate knowledge of M-Trust, and of course, M-Trust is gonna be the essential into using workflow. I mean, it's a perceptive piece, but we're gonna integrate that with M-Trust, hopefully that would be the plan, to where it's seamless.
So earlier this morning, we were talking about all the hard copy files that you have, the boxes of files. Give me an idea, what amount of space does that actually occupy right now?
Well, we have approximately 1,000 boxes, and those boxes are probably 12 by 16, 12 by 18.
And they're banker's boxes, banker boxes.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you just say they were 12 by 12, I mean, you're looking at
So
least
3,000 or
1,000.
4,000 square feet
Right.
of space. And I'm leading to, I mean, if you're gonna build, it would be nice to have great efficiencies. So you said there's a possibility that you may be able to arrive at a decision at some point in the future about how to get rid of some of those. It'd be great to do that before you have to move.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
it-
so
is that
those
possible?
are at records they're at records management.
Oh, they're not
They're in
here.
state
They're not-
storage,
Yeah,
so they're
okay.
not
they're
on
in
site.
state.
Should ask that first.
There's
That's
15
okay.
boxes that are on site, and they're in Natalie's office, because prior to Carla leaving, because Carla and I are like dinosaurs here as far as record management, the boxes that are down there, I brought some of those boxes back so she could look at them to say, yes, these can be destroyed, these are payroll books and stuff, so.
Dinosaurs survived 60 million years.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than humans so far.
Yeah. But hopefully they'll be shipped out of here soon, so, yeah.
So as we talk, I think we may want to add an objective, just kind of, and maybe it can be like an outreach and change management, kind of bundle that together for the improvements in efficiency, like Scott said, ensure we plan carefully, opportunities for staff to provide input where possible, continuity of those partnerships, and maybe some training and discussion on effective change, incorporating, continuous quality improvement and change, some of those types of things, just to kind of get it on our radar. Okay, and then the final one related to the long-term plan, and this maybe is a little further out, but is the voice over internet protocol systems and software, managing messages, maybe getting rid of some of the manual logs, possibly link into Mtrust. I just tagged that as a 3 because Sean and Tammy indicated that probably wouldn't be as high a priority as the 4 things we just talked about. But that may be more of a, what are we thinking, like a 2018, 2019 type of a thing?
Well, the goofy thing about that one is it may actually get done sooner than some of these others, just because we're going to VoIP phones already. The state is.
VoIP is going to happen regardless.
It is, and really,
The move would drive that too.
yeah, potentially. But I guess where I was going to go with this is, so we're going to be on VoIP probably in the next 6 months, John? 6 to 9 months.
6 to 9. I think we're outside the 6. Our agency is outside the 6 month window.
I mean, we would have to develop some policies around it and things like that, but if we're on VoIP and we have Alfred and Roy basically tied up, I mean, ideally what we'd like to do is tie Mtrust to whatever VoIP functions we want to use. I mean, some systems record all of their member phone calls, so if there was a way for Alfred and Roy to program Mtrust to where you get a phone call, you're able to click something in Mtrust to tie those two, the phone call recording over the internet and the program together and store them, I think we want to try to take advantage of that. Using the contingency fund we have built into our phase 3, if possible.
Yeah.
So, sorry,
That's kind of the thing
even
I
though
was
this
thinking
is
about
more
with
of a
the move, I
nice.
was thinking, you're moving,
Yeah.
you want to be talking about some of this stuff now.
Yeah, I mean, this is more of a nice to have in some ways, but I mean, it's really important because we get all the time, well, I called and I talked to somebody, and they don't know who they talked to, and of course, all of the benefit officers keep manual phone logs, but you don't really put a ton of detail into those logs. If we had the ability to go back and say, well, actually we went and pulled that call, this is what you were told, because
This is
You'll
what
get-
you said.
there's one person calling the office 5 times within an hour trying to get to a different person to get a different answer.
Yeah, we've had that happen, but it would also be a great training tool, just to be able to go back and listen and say, this is how you could have addressed it a little bit differently. And
Absolutely.
yeah, but we've been doing those phone logs for years, and they've been reliable. I mean, and we've used them to make some internal administrative decisions of whether we're gonna accept a member's request for whatever the situation may be, something odd happened or whatever, but it would be nice to have, take away one additional task that they have on their desk, and keep, track of who they're talking to
Yeah.
on a daily basis. It would be nice. And tie that into Mtrust, like Sean said, to where, again, it's just like our
Type in the
imaging.
guy's name.
Yep,
Yeah.
and you can have,
Yeah, it'd be nice, it'd be really nice.
yeah.
Okay.
So as far as a number to put there, I don't know if maybe we make it a 2 instead of a 3. I think it is important, but it's not necessarily super urgent.
Okay.
Although it may be one that once we actually get done first.
First, yeah.
Right. Okay, that sounds good. Then we move into some of the member communication, customer service type of objectives, which you really have kind of 4 related to that. We talked earlier in looking at the old sheet about the video, audio clips, interactive checklist and everything. Again, that sounds like something we may be able to start working on within the next 9 months or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll obviously involve staff time. I don't know if there'll be some costs associated with the technical aspects. I mean, sounds like the software is pretty
Yeah,
easy
we
to use.
Yeah, we have the software,
Okay.
so probably mostly staff time.
Okay. Okay, so that one's pretty well programmed, we'll work that over. School board webpage, where does that fit in the big picture?
What is it that you want to put
I
on
think
there?
it's kind of one of those things that brings together several, would bring together information from other spots. You're just trying to find one place where it makes sense for a school board member. So
you're
it's
talking
probably
about
gonna be one of the
backward
late.
policy and all those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Well, and even this induction stuff, I mean, there's some other things there that have to happen too.
You could attach the legislative report
You
to
can
it.
link to the legislative stuff, you can link, so, you know,
So again, important but not urgent.
it's not as urgent as, you know, if we were going into a legislative session this year, or we're having specific issues with board, it might be urgent, but I don't know that I mean, we've been putting it off quite a while.
Yeah, we have.
Um,
All comes back
And
to-
sometimes it might just be easier to start a page, and with, you know, if you feel confident you have enough information to do some things, that's kind of dependent on staff and whether or not.
You know, this isn't the time for public comment, but this issue came up years ago from when we talked with the School Boards Association. And they referenced the fact that our board members are volunteers, and they have so little time, and yet when we see the outcomes of some boards making determinations, because they don't have a lot of basis for the importance of the system or how we need to preserve the system, they're thinking only of their school district. And I think sometimes of legislation that's proposed, if there were a way for someone to get slightly more familiar with what it means to be protecting the system, that was the impetus for that. Just that there wasn't a quick place for board members to go. We talked about board member training, and I know Sean goes to MCEL, and so there are opportunities, but maybe not just-in-time opportunities for board members that have a sudden interest. And I like your idea, just connect.
It's really about making it easy for that one small group of people to access information that they can probably already find most of it, but they're just not gonna do it because they're coming from outside, whatever.
You guys don't have to forgive me, because all these questions I get to ask for the first time, so tell me what we're talking about in terms of numbers. How many school boards are there out there? What's the average membership on those boards? What group of people are we talking
School
about?
boards by law, there's about 400 districts, roughly.
With 4 or 5 board members each?
Three to
It could
seven.
be
3 to 7.
Could be 3 to 11.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're talking
3-year
somewhere
terms.
around 2,000 or 3,000 people that are pretty
Max.
important to our school system.
Right, but
Very.
the
That
big
makes
part
sense.
is they're people that are there to be a positive influence on the things that happen in their school. And so they want to try to do the best that they can for their school. Many times just don't have the resources to make decisions that get them there.
Sure.
And some of those decisions obviously affect us.
Are you saying, Diane, that you think this is maybe something we should consider making a little more higher of a priority?
I just think, I think it was Scott that said, or Jeff, one of you said, let's just do something and link other existing information to it.
Just start
So-
the page. So
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we see, oh yeah, we got the school board page, this would be a good thing to have on that, or whatever.
Yeah.
Even if it's
Might
the
be a
new,
logical way to get
Yeah.
into it, rather
Right.
than trying to say, we're gonna have this wonderful thing done.
doesn't have to be too big, it just has to
Yeah.
be simple
Right.
and using some other things,
Yeah.
just to avoid problems.
Well, and school boards also make decisions on PERS and stuff, and, you know, you could have a link, not to everything, but to their website. You know, we don't wanna do that, but there's lots that they have out there that's.
And that can't be too labor intensive to get a website going.
Just a page.
Or a web
Just a
page,
page.
yeah.
So I would say that and I don't think it's a bad idea to start it and start putting things on it. I will say I think it's going to be something that builds, because in my experience, the issue with school boards is that they're like all of you who haven't been on this board for 15 years. They're concerned citizens who are like, you know, volunteer legislators, do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're they're not the experts on the business that they're responsible for running. So if we can provide them the content that allows them to sort of know what the real answer is, so they can make informed decisions about things that are being advised on, and I'm thinking specifically about the circumstances where we've had violations of the working retiree limitations and that sort of thing, and the school board members involved have absolutely no idea what the right answer is or was at the time that the decision was made. So we're actually in a process right now as well of putting some of, creating our fact sheets that cover some of those employer responsibilities that we don't necessarily have to explain in fine detail to school clerks and superintendents because it's their profession. But for the school board members, it really needs to be laid out a little more expansively than just, here's a citation to the statute that applies. So I think as those things are built as well, we'll have far more really good content to put up for them.
Long term, especially with the younger teachers, the millennials and what have you, if you had, like a lot of sites do, a facility on there where they could just install a question and somebody would be assigned to getting an answer to that question online, then even initially it becomes very valuable because they have a direct access way other than picking up the phone in order to get their questions answered.
It's a really very good suggestion.
Actually, it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I think a school board webpage where you have actual school board members, they're not gonna wanna read the full-on 20
No,
page. They're
no,
gonna
you're
wanna
gonna give
know
them the short
high-level
answer,
detail.
right.
I
But
could see putting information about retirement incentives on that, because they're the ones
Yes.
that approve those, and they really have no idea how they work.
Yeah, no, you're gonna wanna give them the short answer, I think, but you're also going to want to tell them, if you need more information,
Yeah, and this
here's
is
where it's
Well,
at.
you're gonna wanna give them the kind of information that they're dependent on the superintendent and clerk for now.
Right,
The superintendent and clerk are the only ones that are making those connections for them.
precisely.
And it's things like why do we have a separate retirement fund that we do this stuff with? They have no idea why there's a separate fund in the county to do this
Mhm.
and what the limits are and they might wanna research what's going on with it, so
Yeah.
they just don't know. Those are questions they're asking their superintendent and clerk.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll flesh that out and maybe talk about starting it and bumping that up a little bit. Obviously not June 2017. But something more realistic than that will nudge that one up a little bit.
Should already be done.
Let's see, improve our new member training materials intended to promote the value of the DV plan. Again, that's
Close, isn't it? I mean, it could be, is that when you just went or saw from the other school? Or
Yes,
from another system?
from Minnesota TRS. It's just a matter of when we have time to get to it. I mean, we're in the middle of taking a different route as far as the handbooks, I think. I mean, we're not, right now, we should be in the process of updating the member handbook and the beneficiary handbook. And I think we're gonna take a little bit different tact with those. And, I mean, Darla, do you wanna talk about maybe real quick how, I mean,
Sure.
that transition might be? But if we have this going on, I think that's higher priority, because we gotta get that information out to our members, and then we would be able to work in some of these other things. But go ahead if you want.
One thing that occurs to me is reading these the plan here is that, and it makes sense why this is, but a lot of it is a new webpage, a new resource, a new video, a new product of some kind. When really, internally, we've stepped back and looked at all of our information out there, the handbooks, the existing fact sheet project that was started, a lot of the information that would need to be in these communication pieces already exists, and it's already duplicated in many, many places. And it's, in some cases, it's very dense and detailed and hard to understand. And so we've already kind of like stepped back and said, how can we get our arms around everything there is and try and distill what are the important pieces to everyone, that's really documented in one place if possible. Instead of having the working retiree issue explained in great detail in the retired person handbook and the active member handbook, and then in a fact sheet, and also on another page on the website, trying to boil that down and figure out what all we have. What do we have? What's the inventory? Kind of another inventory project. What information do we have in what form out there, and how can we repurpose it? How can we put some of it on a board member webpage and incorporate it into a video that could also be on the board member webpage? So in that sense, I think it's a little bit bigger and more important that we think about the content more than the product.
Because you're right, we do have those things, it's not like we don't have them.
She took that time management course.
Yeah.
Well, it's a challenge.
She wants to
for
say
sure.
there's only one of me. but-
Well, it becomes, it obviously becomes a
You're absolutely
maintenance.
correct.
It becomes a maintenance
Ton
nightmare
of
when you
that
have
stuff
it.
is already out
Yeah, yeah, and the risk is if it's described slightly differently, you've got
Oh,
it out there 7
absolutely.
times and it's not exactly the same in every
Why does
place.
it say this here and that there?
Yeah, and it has to be, like you said, a lot of these board members are farmers, maybe, they don't know anything about
I
a
know.
retirement plan, and so that's why I like to Sean's point, I think it should be as easy to understand as possible, but with, like, to Diane's point, the ability to get a deeper answer if the question goes deeper than that, rather than a link to a statute. So yeah, it's a big, there's lots of possibilities, I should say.
And truly, I think you want your communications to be responsive to the needs of the persons that's using it. And truly, a vast majority of what's going on, it just needs to make sense that they can get to it.
Yeah.
And the first part of it might be the abridged version of what's going on, or even just the first paragraph and a half of what's in there.
Right.
And if truly that's where they're headed, then they
Right.
need more or
Right.
something.
And Sean brought up the handbooks, just trying to take a different tack with those. We've talked about maybe having them be more of a friendly brochure type of thing, that's more welcome to the system, it's a little bit more upbeat and welcoming than here's a booklet that you'll put on your shelf. Not that the existing ones are bad, it's just that we could take we could freshen our approach to that.
I found my retirement folder, we're moving some back, and I found, must have 25 of those handbooks.
Yeah.
So if it comes out and it's really nice and friendly, I probably won't recognize it.
So what we have been talking about and looking at doing is making it be really a brochure, like a 4, maybe 6-page brochure that's updated after every legislative session, and then having more of like a planned document kind of thing that's always available electronically.
Same general thought.
Yeah, and you're not reprinting and remailing thousands of these books every 2
And
years.
99% of it's exactly what you reprinted and remailed
Right.
the time before.
Yeah,
Color cover. Yes, that's you.
right.
I'm wondering if just for the purpose of this plan, then, if we should, at least to get on our radar and to be a little more reasonable, is have an objective kind of related to that, do an inventory, develop the plan, make that kind of a higher priority, then maybe some of these real specific communication things, maybe nudge those back a little, kind of condense them into kind of maybe an overall outreach objective. That would kind of take place after we've had a chance to get our head around it and get a handle on it. And and certainly if there's some lower hanging fruit, like getting that school board webpage started, let's go ahead and do that and get some things out there. But as far as maybe some of these bigger efforts, let's do the inventory first and then start really pushing it out. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah. It's spelled out.
So do inventory and plan, and then push out. Okay. And some of these, communication things, I mean, the way I've got it presented here does kind of get a little into the weeds on, this thing, that thing, this thing, so we can roll some of those up, boil them together, and have an objective to kind of get a plan before we really start pushing things out.
So Darla, if you need old handbooks, I got
Oh, do you? I need the history.
May I add one more thing while we're on this topic, Madam Chair? Not to make things more complicated. A point in everyone's career is when they're vested. And I know new members don't even understand what that means sometimes. But is there any way we could do a notice to a member? Congratulations, you're vested, and just a vested notice where, and also think about checking the record to be sure your records are the same as ours, and that this is what we think you have in service. Just a upfront notice. You're a member of the system now, and 2, service credit purchase. You are now eligible for service credit purchase. People don't even think about that till it's too expensive. So,
Can I add to that?
I know that's in the weeds, I know it is, but.
I'd like to add to that. Now, this is maybe thinking ahead a little bit too much, but my broker-dealer, for every one of the 2,000 representatives we have across the country, they make us establish our objective for total production at the beginning of the year. And literally, every time we log on, we see the dollar value of our production and what percentage of our goal we've achieved. Oh, you're this close to your objective. So imagine in the vesting issue, if a brand new member, every time they logged on, it showed how close they are to their vesting time frame.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we could do on my TRS, I mean, and also the congratulations, it could be something that if they logged on my TRS. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because yesterday during our workflow meeting for the active team, Brent brought up a really good idea that we start, being more proactive in doing service credit, reviews early on, just so we can prevent some of these issues where members are, we find reported in error issues and now it's costing them X number of dollars because years of interest. I mean, that would be a worthwhile project, absolutely, to start looking at those members that are close to, being vested or are vested and doing something along those lines.
Just to start to give them a real big nudge.
It could
This is
also,
important.
Well, and
Yeah.
it could be driven 100% by what the system's calculating, so we're not actually having to do service audits.
Yeah.
And then if it looks funny to them, it's like, well, wow, I should have 7 years, not 5 years.
Top of mind awareness.
We
Yeah.
get the same effect, they notify us sooner.
Yeah.
it could just be added, I mean, it could be a sheet added to the annual statement for people the first year that they hit 5 years when we do their, because that actually puts additional information on their annual statement anyway.
It could, I mean, you get estimates.
Calculates benefit estimates and,
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
Thank you.
Like that.
We'll get something on there about that.
That was weeds,
That
I
wasn't
know.
specific at all.
It's broadly speaking.
Well, and we'll play around with
Sorry.
it, because it does kind of link to that audit, quality control, quality assurance piece, so maybe it's kind of a subset of that goal we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It's welcoming and fresh too.
Promoting the third leg of retirement, again, that's gonna be probably a piece of that outreach that we will maybe take on once we get kind of a plan and an inventory, but something else that we need to do, and certainly it's not a 401k, so I'll make that correction on there. But that's something we'll keep on there, I guess, and that'll kind of come with that package, and maybe we'll let staff kind of come back with an idea of, here's, we developed the plan, here's the inventory, and here's our game plan for doing those various communication things. So Sean and Darla can work on the details of that. One other one I said that was on there before was developing, expanding staff competency and expertise. I added retention through on-the-job training, continuing ed certification, and pay plan design. So we had, the tuition reimbursement and the training. I mean, those efforts have been implemented, they're underway. Certainly something I think we can continue to push. I don't think people are taking advantage of the tuition reimbursement to the extent we had hoped, but it's there. Right? The program's up and running. So really the elements of that, and this kind of harkens back to what you all talked about at the last board meeting, some of the pay plan design issues we've talked about, some of the steps the board's taken, some of the efforts we've currently got underway. So again, just want to make sure we have kind of agreement that that's something we want to be looking at and continuing to actively pursue. I also think with the succession planning and developing capacity, there may be something we could add to that about job design or looking at promotional opportunities or building jobs or expanding jobs or something like that. So I might just add something in there about job design. And what I was talking about is, like earlier, Sean, we talked about maybe preparing people, you know, for succession planning, or if we're going to be developing additional capacity, you know, maybe building people's jobs. There might be an opportunity to line that up with retention. You know, if we can make people's jobs, you know, more diverse or higher level or put more in, so it's, you know, worth more pay-wise.
Okay, yeah, and a piece of this that's underway right now is the salary survey. Jim, we've contracted with Jim, TRS has and Impera has, we're splitting the cost to do a surrounding state survey to help for our conversations next year for justification for the Houston market.
Okay. And then one other objective we already added was the developing our internal and external audit capacity, or, you know, we broaden that to say audit or quality control capacity, and like I said, maybe that would include some of the stuff like, you know, the idea of letting people know when they're vested, putting the notice out, here's what we have. I think, like Sean said, that's a great way to maybe tackle some of that, you know, getting the members involved and helping us with quality control assurance. That's a really good idea. So I'll add that there. Thinking back to the SWOT assessment we did, previous board conversations, is there any other kind of high-level objectives or strategies we think we want to get on the worksheet today? And like I said, you know, I'll go back and let Sean and the staff kind of work this over and come back to you with a revised spreadsheet, but is there any other kind of big ticket items you want to get on our radar at this point? And really the only other thing that's occurring to me from today's discussion is we talked about the, you know, disaster recovery, doing the tabletop exercise and stuff. To me, that seems like kind of a subset or part of that plan that's already implemented and up and running. That, you know, didn't seem to me to be significant enough to need a line item. But
I have one idea. I mean, Sean and I talked about this briefly. You know, our training program for internal staff, it's weak in the sense that, you know, now we've migrated to a new mTrust system. Our desk reference manuals for most, if not all, positions in this office are, you know, basically structured on old technology, Pension Plus technology. Of course, you know, Darla's slated with a lot of things that are already on her plate, but, and we talked about maybe that's something externally we would want to look at, and I don't even know if your office does some, I know you do, you know, desk audits and things along those lines, but just to actually start down that path of looking at creating training material. I mean, I know, you know, we don't want to have turnover, but you know, will happen, and just being able to have some resources available that someone can use when they come in this office to be able to sit down and understand whatever position it may be, to use in the new for the new system. You know, the help is general, just help with just describing the screen, you know, defining things and stuff like that. It's not a true why or how, you know, how to do something. So, I mean, it would be taking that information and actually developing it into a desk reference manual.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe just have like screenshots and explain how to do it.
Right, yeah. I mean, we have some pretty extensive manuals that could be taken right now and used to develop this new one. It's just, I mean, who has the time to do that?
They're dated.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have some of the new, and when I say new, you're talking probably since 2009 or 11 legislative changes. I mean, it's just a matter of, like Tammy said, I'm glad you remembered this because we did talk about this the other day. One of the chief complaints we have from people that we've hired at TRS that don't work out, and it only happens here and there, but when they don't work out is that we don't have a manual for basically most all of our jobs at this point because they are so dated.
Yeah.
So I think this would be definitely something we should look at
Yeah.
doing. Again, it's kind of like the records management, we probably would have to contract to get it done if we want to put the M-Trust on hold, and, you know, because there are those times allotted out 100%.
Well, I think it can be important, I think some of that can come from existing staff in terms of people that are doing that job right now. I think there's some ideas that they can generate pretty quick.
Yeah.
But really,
But
I mean, with
coordinating.
all of the change that we've got going on and the things that are gonna continue to change, I don't know that
Maybe
I'd
wait.
get too worried about getting it
Right.
lined out. I'd be more worried about hiring that person that can handle change.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah, that's a
really-
good point, because if we're gonna have workflow
Yeah.
come in, and we're gonna have maybe possibly the voice over.
Yeah, I mean,
phones
if they gotta survive out of that manual, you're probably not gonna wanna hire them again.
Right, yeah, but we.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what you got here.
Yeah.
And hire people who can handle change and frankly, support, whether they're new people or existing people, through change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, and there is a lot of, you know, even just like resilience training and change management training and things we can do to support our existing staff on how to deal with that and start to get people, because change it's scary,
yeah.
and frankly, it's disruptive, but it also could be a great opportunity. And if you can really spend time training people to look at change as an opportunity and to view it as, okay, wait a minute, not I hate this or I hate going to work, but boy, what a great opportunity to go and improve things. You get people in that continuous quality improvement mindset and actually do some training on continuous quality improvement methodologies, and really use that change as an opportunity to engage people and improve people. And again, some of this sounds a little, you know, ethereal, but there are practical hands-on courses on change management and how do you work through change and how do you handle change, and just even recognizing the stress associated with it. And dealing
Understand
with
why there's even an issue.
Yeah.
Because of the change.
Yeah, and hiring, like Scott said, hiring people that can handle change.
And I say that a little bit, just, but because there are great people that need to start in the menu, right? Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but you have to kind of balance all of that.
Right. Yeah, and I wouldn't, it's something I think we need some kind of training program in place for the positions that we have, because, I mean, we've had, now, yes, we have twice the amount of staff when I started here, but it was always, here's a manual, good luck. I mean, that's really how we had to have, hit the, you know, we were so busy, you didn't have the time to sit down one-on-one and train someone, so.
I got it, I didn't get it.
Yeah, so hopefully we won't go back in time and relive that, but I definitely wouldn't see this being something that would, you know, come to life basically until after workflow, because it, you know,
Yeah.
that would be a huge piece, but just having some kind of training program material in place that would be beneficial for a new employee that walks in the door, no matter what position they're, you know, they start out here at TRS, would be helpful.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'd recommend we go ahead and get that on there, you know, we just prioritize it after workflow.
yeah,
But not only is that, you know, good as far as, again, ties to improving workplace efficiency, but it also ties directly to that succession planning.
yeah,
Because if you can have things documented, because if it's all up here right now and you walk out the door, that's a problem. But if we
Yeah.
have some of that stuff documented and some screenshots and manuals, I mean, it's still a problem if people
Absolutely.
leave, but not as big of a
Yeah.
problem.
and I think it helps in the, absolutely in succession planning that, you know, if, so say if, you know, I don't know, somebody in this office has interest in retired payroll, they can actually on their own take and look at that training material and then kind of just, you know, learn things on their, outside of, you know, their normal work schedule in order to improve their knowledge of that position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would just be helpful,
Okay.
you know.
And the why piece of it is part of like the training program that I think Tammy's talking about, it that we don't really have in place now, is if you understand why
Yeah,
we have to do something a certain way, the how is a little bit at least less important.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like if you understand why the change, these other changes are really, you know, it's just, okay, I'll figure it out, but
Yeah.
you gotta know why it's something's a certain way.
Yeah.
And we don't really necessarily have that in place right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and if you look at, you know, continuous quality improvement or you know, re-engineering type of training, it's exactly the type of thing you talk about, is understanding why we do this process, and then as I'm working through it, here's the end goal. You know, then people can start thinking about, now wait a minute, is this step even necessary? If the end goal is this, why is it going to this person? And you know, I do agree a lot of this work can come from staff internally, and a consultant can help guide the process and help with the documentation, but the subject matter experts are gonna be the staff. It just takes, you know, the consultant is the person who asks the right questions.
Yeah,
And then, you know,
writes it all down.
then tells,
Yeah,
ask them and then tell them what they told you,
Yeah.
so. Okay, excellent, so we got that on there. So we've added a couple things. We've added the developing our quality control capacity, internal training and procedure development. I think we've adequately addressed kind of our staff development, and then I'll also add an objective kind of about our outreach, change management, both internal and external efforts to manage change and communicate change and everything, and get that out. And then I'll get that to staff so they can kind of work it over. So are we good on objectives?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Excellent. Almost on time. So just briefly in closing, I want to take a look at our current goals and objectives. I talked a little bit about communicating them. I don't necessarily know the goals and objectives we got on the website, and I think these are the same ones we use to communicate for the ETP process. I believe are broad enough to kind of cover everything we talked about today. So I'm not necessarily sure that there's any need for any major revision of any of these documents. Our goals, I'm sure you're familiar with those, but just want to take a minute to look them over. You know, pretty much everything I see as far as maintaining a qualified plan. I mean, a lot of stuff we talked about as far as the quality control and assurance, that fits under there. Sustaining a high performance work culture, service excellence, everything we talked about with the workplace efficiency and the staff retention fits under there. Communication and outreach, I mean, that's pretty much covers everything we talked about today, so.
How picky do we want to be, Jim? First bullet point in the first segment should say Federal Internal Revenue Code and Montana law. It's not just the Constitution,
Okay,
but that may be
that's okay.
changed,
That's
it
good.
doesn't.
We don't want to fit in with the federal one.
Isn't the Constitution's the only place that says that on an actuarially sound basis? It's not in the statute.
But it says, well, I guess that's true, if it's only going to actuarial,
Actually, yeah. I mean, qualified status is included in the statute, or, I don't know.
yeah, that's what I was
Split
reading,
hairs
but,
there.
yeah.
And law is broader, I mean, law covers the Constitution and statute
It does, yeah.
and
It's
case
nice
law.
it's nice to reference Constitution, though, you need to make sure that people understand this is a big deal.
That's true.
So you need just to add it, I mean, Montana state constitution, state laws and federal law. Or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because the average person surely would not see the Constitution as the law.
Okay, I think that sounds good. I like the idea of keeping the Constitution in there. Especially with people trying to make runs at the retirement system.
Any deterrent is a good deterrent.
And maybe I would suggest, since we're gonna get in there and edit anyway, you know, the last bullet under 2 is, you know, we're not only researching, but we're implementing long-term options or programs to increase workplace efficiency. We're on it, we're in there. maybe what we can do is just take it, if you have any other ideas or thoughts, just let Sean know. Like I said, we're gonna be in there and just doing a little fine tuning anyway, so if you've got any other thoughts or things you wanna get in there, just let us know and we'll get it in a revision. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and this can maybe just be a discussion, and you can maybe, as a board, task us to do some work and come back with a proposal. But I do wanna talk about from the board level what our thoughts are on kind of recognizing, acknowledging, rewarding the staff success, both with, looking at the 2016, 17 things, we checked some stuff off. We've got some major change coming for the 2017-2018 period. So I'd like the board just to think about, and certainly the board is doing a great job recognizing and acknowledging staff in that you're supporting the pay plan efforts, you're supporting a new workspace, so you're doing a lot, and I want to be clear about that. But I just wanted to have at least a brief discussion if we think there's anything more we need to be doing with regard to formal recognition. Part of the reason I'm bringing this up is like Sean said, I'm going to be working with him in Impera and pay plan design, so if that's something you're interested in, that could be a component, or we could look at other recognition programs. And it could just be as simple as showcasing staff efforts, and communicating to members. This is what our staff's doing, or recognizing people internally, or the board recognizing people. So I don't really have anything specific in mind, but I just wanted to have a general discussion. And the reason I bring it up is just further kind of embedding and ingraining this strategic plan into our organizational culture. And like I said, we've done a great job on the front end bringing it in. Just want to know if anybody had any thoughts on anything else as a board we'd like to do to kind of maybe reinforce or acknowledge what we're doing.
I have a question.
Okay.
I would like to know, there's 5 high-level staff members in this room. If any of them have any ideas about what would be important to them in terms of recognition, I'd like to hear it. Is it salary based? Is it?
This one's was a little bit fuzzy to me until Jim just kind of gave some more examples. But so one of the things that we have done recently was in the newsletter, we did like the 1, 2, 3 cheers for M-Trust, a write-up of what M-Trust, because that was one of our kind of major strategic planning items from the last few years, is to upgrade the IT technology. And so I guess maybe taking that a step further is maybe you recognize the team members. So like you do something like that in the newsletter, and you recognize the team members that were kind of, I guess, most influential. The hard part about M-Trust is that everyone in the office has been involved in one piece or another of it. But certainly you have a few key people that were involved in every step of the way. I don't know, so the actual strategic planning objectives that we have are tied pretty directly to my performance appraisal that you all work on. So for me, I guess whether these strategic planning items are accomplished or not accomplished are reflected in my performance appraisal. And I guess, if that answers your question. So to me, they're all important, and how it's recognized, I'm not sure. I mean, it would be nice to be able to compensate for all these kinds of things, but you really can't. I mean, our salaries are such, and the way we budget for our pay plan, and the way we present our pay plan, they're not necessarily tied to checking off, I got this done, I got this done, I got this done.
Cake and ice cream at every board meeting.
We could, but so I guess I'm open to, like Jim said, this is probably more of a discussion at this point, a discussion item. I guess I'm open to hearing, Tammy, Denise, Nolan, what you guys think.
I think we did do, when we finished phase 2 of the project, luncheon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of a celebration. Yeah. You weren't invited.
But yeah, that's a good example.
So yeah, I mean, and that was nice, I think, TRS bought lunch, for everyone, and it was good.
Sometimes that kind of stuff bringing somebody in that walks around and gives people the coffee they want.
Yeah.
Just some celebration, recognition that something happened, and
Yeah.
I think TRS as a whole, Denise brings in donuts every couple Fridays or what, like just random stuff like that.
What about some acknowledging superior service once a quarter? The employee of the quarter that we announced at the board meeting for somebody that just did exceptionally good work in the last quarter, and you create a platform, or a little bit of recognition. You don't want to develop competition between internal staff members. You just want to acknowledge people that have done a particularly good job. Right?
The tough part with stuff like that is sometimes it gets to a point where the only person you haven't given it to now is the person that's not probably gonna get it.
Yeah.
And that creates issues that, I'll just throw some thoughts out. We ask the kids every once in a while when we're doing surveys with the class, every once in a while you have a group of kids that just say, you guys don't ever recognize anything we do, you don't like us, da, 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 da. So then we ask them things like, well, what do you want us to do? And sometimes they come back and they say, well, geez, it'd be really nice if you'd let us park a little closer,
Yeah.
Pick 10 kids and let them park close to the building, something that didn't cost us anything.
Right.
One year we ended up with a thing, we'd love to get those stickers back, we had in elementary school. I'm going, you want us to give you stickers? I just didn't get it. But
it might just even at a board meeting, just that, I'm not saying one person, because they wouldn't like, most adults don't like that.
Yeah.
But to pick like a team, the IT team comes up and we acknowledge something that they've been doing. We don't always see everybody who works there, We don't see we see Nolan of the accounting department, but, we don't see the other people.
we see Nolan.
Yeah. Even if you turned the board meeting into a staff luncheon.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily that you're acknowledging one person, but just staff as a whole, to get away from that competition thing that we turn it into a staff luncheon every time. You're talking 4 times a year, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the idea of the plaque and the whatever else we've got teacher of the year things, we've got whatever else, but after about 20 years, when you've got pretty much the same staff, it looks like we need to do Joel this year.
I hear you.
Yeah. So I'll preface my comments by saying I've contributed nothing to M-Trust, so it has nothing to do with me. I think the process, a process like the M-Trust project puts pressure on people that you don't even necessarily note as the process is going along. Do you know what I'm saying? And Tammy, put your hands over your ears. But, there are some people who go so far above and beyond the call of duty when there are things like this going on. It's very difficult to single them out for recognition or for compensation for their additional effort because of the other, but there are ways that you can compensate people, and I'm sorry I'm gonna make this as mercenary as it needs to be. It really is a matter of money that makes people feel valued to a great extent. I'm just gonna say that. And if you can't put some sort of short-term premium pay on somebody's time worked or that for these kinds of above and beyond the call of duty contributions. And I know there used to be processes in state statute where you could do merit pay for not long-term base pay additions, but I think that a process could be figured out for sort of attributing contribution levels to the project and either giving people paid time off or, I don't know, Sean, you wanna reach over here and stab me with your thing? Probably, yes.
Well,
A little bit.
Actually, I don't want to stab you. I was thinking along the same lines, and I was thinking that, maybe the board could talk about the establishment of a monetary budget for the entire staff that would be meted out by the board with your recommendations on who
My
was.
personal, I'd love, no.
You can't vote for yourself.
No. It would have to be some sort of process that's rational, made it fairly applicable to everybody that can, do you know what I mean, but I think things can be.
Let's come back to the competition, or
I would rather-
I really didn't have the opportunity to work on this, so I'm just
Right.
SOL, I think that's just.
I mean, I think the board has done, you know, as much as they could do within reason. I mean, you could have probably done a little more, but we didn't ask for a little more. I think you've been very supportive of all of the pay plan progression, things we've brought to you over the last several years. And that's not tied to a specific project or one person's involvement with that project. But those adjustments they're forever adjustments. They're not one-time bonus. You know, Tammy, you got $1,000 bonus this year because you worked 80 hours a week for the last 12 months.
Yeah.
You know, would be. But we have made adjustments that are, you know, to your base salary or to other people here at TRS to their base salary. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, Denise, and I don't necessarily disagree all the way, or I don't agree all the way either. I mean, I think you would run into the situation where you're gonna have a segment of the employees at TRS here that are like, well, that's not fair, I didn't even have a chance to work on M-Trust, so I'll never get anything, you know, if it's only gonna be tied to that. And then if you expand it to more than that, I mean, at some point, I would rather reward your ongoing pay with as appropriate, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing at work, and you're advancing the organization instead of trying to get all these specialized.
Yeah, and Daniel Pink will tell you merit pay doesn't
No,
work.
and I'm not really considering it merit pay, I'm considering it a thank you, do you know what I'm saying? A one-time kind of, thing that's, and, you know.
Do we have PTO here, paid time? I mean, can you accumulate, or is there a set amount?
Of comp time?
Yeah, Tom.
You can accumulate up to a certain amount. I mean, you can't go over, I don't even remember what it is.
Yeah, I know.
But even in your personal days are maxed, that you either use them or lose them at some point.
You can carry 384
Of vacation.
hours of vacation.
Right. And
At
comp
your
time
level,
is-
you can.
Yeah.
At mine, it's 288, so I mean, it depends
Yeah.
on what your,
And
how many years of service.
And comp time's maxed at something.
Two
too,
times
I
your
can't-
annual
yeah.
rate.
Depends on the agency.
The problem is, with those things, is there's a reason they're maxed, is 'cause you never have time really to use it.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I apologize, but I have a 3:15 pre-established appointment. So, are we close to done, or?
I think so, yeah.
Yep, that was a great
She
discussion.
knows, she's meeting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll take, we'll talk a little bit more about that and maybe just an ongoing conversation. I appreciate the thoughts today, so.
Perfect, thank you, John.
Yep, thank you all.
It was very well
Thanks
run.
for doing that.
I figured we were gonna be writing objectives, and when I saw it, they were already written.
Gotta do less than $50.
Yes, sir.
That's nice.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, we do.
You stayed at so you get credit for that.
Oh, we need a motion to adjourn. So moved, second, whatever I fall in.
I vote aye.